I just want to jump back to the thing that Emma talked about, Olbers, before, about dinners. I think dinners are the best meeting point ever, I think, for people. So we met a lot of you guys at dinner in Stockholm in February 2020, and Anna Berglind was actually part of that dinner. And since then, we've been talking every week. We don't have a professional relationship, but become really good friends. And we have this, what we call nerd talks every week. So we dig in and we share networks, and we talk about stuff happened. And it's so exciting for me to take part. Anna's been in the company for more than 20 years. It's a global, big company, and they have an extreme complexity. At Emico, we are privileged to come from a quite clear background with working with waste materials. So the talk today about sustainability and measuring the materials has been, it's not an easy ride for anybody, but we're having a more clearer, we're a small company to start with, but we have a clearer starting point, I would say.
Like Cecilia said, I work for the non-commercial goods department. I'm actually hired by, or I work at what we call global expansion. My role is sustainability specialist, and I'm supporting our development teams, both designers, architects, and also the procurement team. So I'm actually supporting our entire supply chain when it comes to interior, window products like mannequins and props, and also consumer packaging material. In H&M, we have been working with sustainability for quite many years. We made our first full factory audits that was more than 30 years ago. At the time when we, like Cecilia mentioned, when we started to work with sustainability, that was actually when we ran into child labor in our face in factories that we were working with. Then it became very clear to us that we have to make sure that we have a clear code of the expectation and requirements that we should have on our supply chain. So that's when we created the first code of conduct. Today, we work with something that we call sustainability commitment. Sustainability commitment needs to be signed by all business partners that we work with. And it's covering healthy workplaces, it covers healthy ecosystem with a lot of focus on environment, and also something that we call animal welfare. And that has quite a lot to do with material, but also going all the way to cover biodiversity. Mm-hmm. We are a huge company. We are a huge company group. We are 150,000 employees. With that also comes, of course, a big responsibility. I have been listening, it's super interesting. Thank you guys for sharing. We all, I mean, even if we are a big corporation, a big company, we are still facing, I would say, the same kind of challenges as small companies are facing. And also, I'm representing H&M Group, so it's not only the mothership, so to say, H&M, it's also COS, Arket, Other Stories, and the other brands we have. So it's actually also some small brands. But believe it or not, with 5,000 stores that we actually have around 9.5 million square meter of built environment. So that you can call big impact.
So with this extreme complexity, we wanted to highlight here today that there's nowhere to hide. That sounds really tough, but Anna is pointing out being a large company, and we are a smaller company, but everybody has to do the same stuff. And even if H&M is that size, they still have the same complex questions ahead of them. And I think that the learning curve is always interesting, and when you're a big company, the problem here is usually that these are complex questions everybody touched upon here today so far. And a lot of the time that kind of paralyzes a lot of businesses. They don't know how to start. With H&M, they've been fortunate to have a budget for these stuff, and they've been trying out a lot of different ways of dealing and attacking this indexing of systems, materials and stuff. But the learning, I think, Anna, what we talked about also is the first time, or in the beginning when you started to work with sustainable questions, you dug very deep, right? So you went into a more product by product perspective.
Yeah, exactly. Like I mentioned, when we start working with sustainability, it was a lot of focus around the social agenda, which is still a very big part of our sustainability work, because it all starts with people. It starts with people understanding why it is. And Cecilia, you and I, we have been talking a lot about the importance with full transparency and full traceability. And I would say the three keywords that we cannot do without, that is collaboration. We are a huge company group, but we are totally depending on our both internal and external stakeholders and business partners. We cannot do this alone. We don't have any production of our own. We outsource all production, non-commercial as commercial. So very ambitious, we start measuring. We developed a tool that could actually calculate circularity of a product. And here we were focusing both on circular design principles, material, and also, of course, how much of this of the different material that each product was made of. And I think, to look at the background text that I have, we keep it simple. What we have learned from that was that, first of all, because you can chase data and you can collect reports and information from your supply chain, but the most important is to identify what kind of data you actually need and why, and how you're going to use it. So now we actually took a few steps back to really make sure that, first of all, we identify what kind of data do we need.
At Emico, what we found out to make it simpler for people buying our products was we started to use something called the 2030 calculator, which is a product made by a Swedish tech company called Ecologies. So we are now launching CO2 emission statements on all our products. It's making it more simple for people to identify what we stand for. We've been doing also all kinds of tests also throughout the years, VOCs, and we're declared in numerous places. But a lot of these people, and making it clear and simple, they don't really know what it stands for.
At the same time, when we were developing this that we call CAT tool, which is Product Circular Assessment Tool, we also developed a tool, or like an evaluation method for measuring suppliers' environmental performance with focus on circularity. We call it SCAT, Supplier Circular Assessment Tool. We have been running that for 3 years. All sustainability work that we do is, of course, done on what we call production unit level. It's done out in the factories. Many of our suppliers, I think today within non-commercial product supply chain, we work with approx like 200 suppliers, but we work with like 370 or something production units. So it's more factories. So all the work when it comes to evaluating that is done out in the factories. And this has been really successful because what it does is that at the same time as we kind of push our supply chain to start measuring and to start thinking about things, because they are all fully responsible for their own development. Our job is to support them in their development. Sometimes we have a tendency of forgetting that we talk about circular economy here. Circular economy is not a sustainability activity, it's a business model. And it's sometimes it's quite easy to forget that everything pretty much in the world is still measured according to a linear business model. So when we are shifting into circular economy, I think it's also very important to keep in the back of our head that we have to start measuring success and measuring everything according to a circular model as well.